Hello YouTube, how y'all doing today? I am here to talk to y'all about something. We are a modern society, and in a modern society sometimes we tend to forget about things. Some things that are primitive and primal in our nature. Um, but what is that? Everybody knows of organizations from PETA, Greenpeace, things like that want to ridicule hunters. The big game safaris to the everyday deer hunter, to the dove hunter, to the duck hunter, things like that. They call us murderers, and us, I mean the hunter. The hunter. Well, here's something that I do want to discuss today. Hunters actually do a lot for wildlife. So, and I mean a lot for wildlife. Hunters are actually responsible for actually helping protect nature a lot more than the World Wildlife Federation, a lot more than PETA, a lot more than even Greenpeace. So let's take the duck hunter for example. Every time a duck stamp is purchased that allows you to hunt the migratory birds such as mallards, Canadian geese, and stuff like that, those hunters are actually investing money to help protect, restore wildlife habitats for those birds. And that is from the Federal Aid in Wildlife Restoration Act. It is also commonly known as the Pittman-Robertson Act. So, and this was something that was actually argued from hunters. No hunter actually wanted to, no hunter actually argued against that act. Hunters came out in favor of that act. Hunters support the tagging of the birds to see the migratory process of these birds, how far they travel, what's the eating habit of these creatures, what is the migration habit of the birds, how far does the mallard travel, how far does the Canadian geese travel, where do they go, where do they come from. Alligator hunting, deer hunting, all that. It helps control population. A responsible hunter, the responsible sportsman, a real hunter, not someone who goes out, drinks beer, who goes out and kills a 1-2-year-old deer. That in and of itself is not necessarily not a real hunter, don't get me wrong, because sometimes it might be necessary to cull a animal that is of a younger age because something could be wrong with that animal. It could be an overpopulation that's disrupting the environment. It could be causing more damage to the environment that's affecting other wildlife in that area. So, let's take safari hunting for instance. What people fail to realize is when you go and hunt, let's say, a bull elephant, the elephant that you go and hunt has already been picked out by a guide. And I'm talking about legal safari hunting. I'm not talking about poachers. Poachers are a completely different thing. Real hunters are against them. Governments are against them. They do not represent the sportsman community whatsoever. And I mean whatsoever. But the meat that comes from giraffes, elephants, crocodiles, they go and they support villages in the area. The money that is paid to hunt these majestic creatures support the villages. They support the local economy. They do a lot of stuff. These hunters, the hunters that go and do this, the only thing they actually get to keep, there's no trophy in that really. Because one, in the United States, it's illegal to have trophies, to keep tusks because of the ivory trade or any of that. They might get a replica made, but it's not any real part of that animal at all. So, but they get the pleasure of knowing that they're helping these animals, such as an elephant. An old bull elephant is no longer able to help reproduce in that circle of life as it goes around and bullies other bull elephants, younger bull elephants that are still able that are able to breed. Well, this old 8 to 10, even 15-year-old bull male can no longer help reproduce. But they'll go and bully the younger bull males that are not sterile and even kill them, run them off, stuff like that. You see this with old lions too. They can sometimes run off younger males, and that can actually be a problem and help and actually cause a lowering of species. And that's something you don't want. That can actually help contribute to a depopulation of these creatures. And our earth needs them. Our world needs them. And hunters don't want to see that. And no, it's not because, if we don't have them, we can't hunt them. No, it's not about that at all. Hunters love nature. There's been plenty of times where I have gone hunting personally. This is a personal story here. I've gone hunting. I've got caught up in the moment, and instead of pulling a trigger, I've just decided to watch and let this buck pass. I literally sit here and let a 10-point buck with a huge spread pass by because the deer was only 3 years old. And I did that because if he's big now, he'll be even bigger in 2 to 3 years. Unless someone who doesn't share the same enthusiasm. Trophy hunters. Again, not a real... Trophy hunters kind of go down that line of true sportsmen who care versus conservationists. Conservationists, true sportsmen, same thing. Whereas trophy hunters are a weird type of thing. Yes, some of them are true. Because there is some point where some people have been hunting so long, they hunt, and they got past the point of, I just hunt for food. And they want to go on, and they finally want that dream buck they can hang up on the wall. I mean, me personally, I care more about putting the food on my table than I would about having one hanging up on my wall. I'm not saying I wouldn't, just I would. But my first priority is using every bit of that animal for food, from anything. I mean, you could take a deer rack, the antlers of a deer, you can make chandeliers, you can do knives. It's endless. The pelt, you can do jackets, you can do chaps, you can do a lot of stuff with just that alone. I mean, and the meat is healthy. It's healthy for you. It's clean. Wild boar. I mean, boar itself is an invasive species. They should be called. They should be called because they destroy a lot of stuff. Wild boar kill turkey. The United States, North America alone is one of the only places on earth where you find turkeys. And what happens is wild hogs actually go in, they dig up turkey eggs, and they destroy them. They do the same thing with quail eggs. So, coyote, they do the same thing. coyotes are very, very destructive to the natural habitat or where they're not from. I mean, one of the worst. So there's always a rhyme and reason to something. And honestly, organizations like World Wildlife Federation, PETA, and stuff like that should actually be working with hunters. There should be an open forum between the two groups instead of having animosity towards hunters. Because I know for myself, I'm huge when it comes to conservation. I'm a member of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. I'm a member of the National Wild Turkey Federation. I do a lot of work. I am a member of the Georgia Hunting and Fishing Federation. I'm a huge supporter, and I try to promote the Live Trophy Foundation when it comes the Live Trophy Initiative when it comes to fishing. And what that is instead of mounting a fish the old way, where you keep the fish that you just caught that you want mounted, your trophy fish, whether it's your personal best, a fish that had an odd look to it, or numerous things, where you actually get the measurements of the, let's say, bass you just caught. Let's say it's a 8-pound, 10-pound bass you just caught. And what you do is you take the pictures of it, your length, your girth of your fish. You weigh it, of course. You get those measurements. You take your pictures of it, your side view, your front view of your fish. Make sure you get those, detailed images of this fish. And then you can actually take it to the taxidermist. And what they do is they actually create a replica of this bass. And upon doing so, you actually get a mount that lasts longer than the natural old way where they did the scales of the fish. It lasts longer. And then you can actually release the fish back into the water. It lives, and you have more bass that go on. I know my home lake here in Georgia, West Point Lake, it used to be one of the best bass fishing lakes in the state of Georgia, in my opinion. Bassmasters used to actually have tournaments out this way, and due to overfishing and due to these tournaments stressing out the fish, and people coming out here and catching these fish and mounting them the old way, we saw a decrease in the fish population, unfortunately. But with this way right here, we'll see a sustainability of fish, whether it's bass, stripers, you name it. So there's ways you can do stuff right. I mean, it even comes down to it. We have to start understanding what we as people can do for nature. Remember, God told Adam and Eve that we have dominion, that they had dominion over the plants and animals. We are the descendants of Adam and Eve. It is our responsibility to have dominion, but that's also having respect. Humans are not as dangerous as we would like to think we are. We're actually an inferior animal compared to them. We are as much a threat as a domesticated pig. We are. And that might seem scary to think about. It might seem weird to think about. But we are a level 2 animal. A house cat is more dangerous than we are. But we have the ability to think, and we have opposable thumbs. We have a capacity to be able to say, is this right? Is this wrong? And there's no reason that vegetarians should attack hunters and because we really should be united against one common goal, and that's to counteract poachers. When it all comes down to it, poachers are the people that are harming wildlife. Hunters themselves. I know here in Georgia, during deer season, for example, there's a set limit. You can only kill 2 antler deer, so you can only kill 2 bucks, and then you have your doe limit. So you have 8 doe you can kill, 2 bucks, and then some of the counties have a antler restriction size too. So I'm not going to get into that on this video. And then, so each animal has different things, and I encourage you, even if you're not a hunter, I encourage you to learn these restrictions, to learn these laws, to learn these rules, because you have to be vigilant in this. Let's say you're on a nature hike. Let's say you're not a hunter, but you're a naturalist. You love nature. Let's say you're out walking, okay? Let's say you're on a nature hike on public land. Remember, public land belongs to us. It belongs to the people. It belongs to taxpayers. We all should be allowed to hunt in natural forests. We should all be allowed to... We're all public landowners. That's our backyards. We should be able to hunt it. I mean, it's a fact. So, with that said, let's say you're out on a nature walk, okay? And you come across Joe Kid, okay? Let's just use Joe Kid as an example. And you notice that he's walking around with $5 on the back of an ATV while driving around. But you know the difference, okay? First off, he's giving hunters a bad name already. So, one, would you know if it was deer season at all? If you don't know, if you haven't done any research, okay? Remember, there are seasons, okay? Each state has different times set up, stuff like that. Let's use Georgia as an example. This is where I live, where I'm from. I know this a little bit better. So between September and January, you got deer season. Now it's broken up into different times. So it starts off with archery, goes a little bit, then you got primitive weapons, which is where you can use muzzle loaders in your archery. You can do archery the entire deer season. You can do, and then once primitive weapons, which is muzzle loaders, start, you can do muzzle loaders and archery all the way through, and then you have firearms, which starts right towards the end of October through November, all the way to the end. So, let's say it's right at the end of September, and Billy Joe has a rifle, 5 deer. Would you know that he's already showing the signs of being a poacher? No. Well, it gets how it works. Remember, $5, 5 antler deer. So, already, there's a problem. We should know right then and there that he's a poacher. But if you haven't done any research, would you know that? You'd see that, and you're automatically going to be like, oh, wow, look at that ugly hunter. So he's giving hunters a bad name. In your mind, you're going to blame all other hunters. But if you did a little bit of research, and you see up at the cabin, the check-in at the forest ranger station, other hunters, and they got a compound bow. They're not on an ATV because most public land places like that don't allow ATVs. They don't allow gas-operated vehicles because it can harm the environment because of oil leak and stuff like that. They only allow battery-operated vehicles. That's what most WMAs only allow. And so do your research. Point this stuff out. If you have your cell phone with you, have service, make sure you always carry around a game warden's number, park ranger's number. Take your pictures, call them up, do something. Turn in poachers. They do not deserve to do this because most of the time they're harvesting their heads. They'll just cut off the head and leave the body to rot. That's not right. We have to. Guess what? Bear hunting. That's one of my favorite things. Bear meat is really good. It's delicious. It's even more lean than deer. But you can also use the fat from bear. It could be a great energy drink. You can waterproof your boots with them. You can waterproof your clothes. The hide makes anything from clothing, rugs, anything like that. You can cook with the bear fat because it's healthy. Black bear in Georgia eat a lot of fruits and stuff like that naturally grow like blueberries. It takes on that distinct flavor along with some nutty flavor because they eat a lot of acorns and nuts and stuff like that. Also, this is stuff and this is health. These are real superfoods that many of our ancestors grew up eating, especially if you have Native American in your culture. I mean, one of the big things is this is how Americans grew up. We grew up eating these foods 150, 200 years ago. We were a society of backwoodsmen. And it wasn't until the start of the Industrial Revolution and then pretty much society started turning their backs on what this gave us. And it started becoming taboo to eat mountain lion, to eat bear, to eat. And it just stuck like that. Why? No one really ever said. But, I mean, Davy Crockett, for instance, he was a bear fat salesman. He would hunt bears to sell the oil. There's a little history lesson for you. So, let's move it on just a little bit more. So, but I mean, everything from the hunting license and stuff like that, all those proceeds from those little pieces of plastic, papers, tags, all that, go literally to help support wildlife. Everything. When we go and we purchase our license, we're purchasing support, not just for a hobby, not just for a passion, but we're purchasing our support for our love for nature, our love for self-sufficiency, of supporting our family, our ancestry. And what can I say? From the many different ways of fishing, from cast netting, spear fishing, bow fishing, rods and reels, from a stick with a fishing line attached to it, from artificial baits to live baits, from even noodling, if that's your thing. So, hunting is a part of us. Whether you are a vegetarian or not, you still have to hunt for your carrots. Whether you're farming yourself or going to a grocery store. Remember, one day, grocery stores may not be around anymore, but the hunter will always live on. the land will be there. So we have to take care of the environment. And that's one thing the hunter does. The hunter, the real hunter, the true hunters are there. So really, we all should work together. If you believe in conservation and you are at heart a conservationist, there needs to be a gap that needs to be brought closer together between those that don't understand hunting yet and the hunter. Because our world's already way divided too much as it is, from stupid politics to those who like sugar in their sweet tea to those that don't like tea at all. I mean, I'm a coffee guy myself, but that's what's great about this world. It's great to have different opinions, but at the end of the day, we need one common goal, and that's taking care of our world. From not using everything up. Moderation. That's one of the big keys. Hunting in moderation. Fishing in moderation. Using only what we need. So, this is part 1 in my series on hunting and fishing conservational videos. Look for part 2 coming out in a few weeks, y'all. This is just basically introduction. I love you guys. If y'all have any questions, comments, follow the links below to my social media pages. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell to keep a lookout for part 2 coming out soon. And all my other videos are coming out. Thank you guys. Y'all have a great night, great day, great evening. And remember, if you're a parent or if you're a child, because we all are, in one way or another, we're kids to someone, get a fishing pole. If you're not into hunting, get a fishing pole. Go out. Try fishing. There's always a great bonding experience. You don't have to worry about catching, because it's called fishing. It's not called catching. Either way, God bless you all. Love you all.